lot of great things. Taking the next step, that's what it's all about.
Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's Alabama football season. We don't just say football season. We say it's Alabama football season because that's what it's all about. But the season has finally kicked off. We have some hot content to share tonight, but go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any content because we have some hot videos dropping throughout the week. Go ahead and light up that live chat as well. We're adding a new, essentially a new section in our show towards the end where we take questions from the audience. Not a whole lot of questions, but go ahead and get in the live chat, post your questions, and certain ones are going to be selected to be highlighted later in the show. So I'll mention that again shortly, but yeah, keep your questions in mind. Go ahead and put them in the chat. Now, my name is Sishi, and I'm the host here on the Crimson Dynasty. And the Crimson Dynasty is one of the shows here on the Bama Standard Network. We have quite a few, and we're constantly adding to it. But I wanted to welcome everyone who's new here and welcome back to those who have been here before. Now, before we get started, I want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Workspace Solutions. So if your business or you personally need a full-fledged marketing team or just you want to enhance your digital presence, be sure to reach out to them. Visit their website. We have their banner listed below. Contact them with any questions that you may have and let them know that you found them through the Bama Standard Network. So we are short one of our co-hosts tonight. Hannah will not be able to join us. She's just so excited about football. She was just out of breath. She couldn't handle those 63 points that we scored. She was just out of breath. But hopefully she'll be back on next week. But we do have Dan James the fourth, like not the third, not the fifth, but the fourth, the one and only Dan, the one who lights up every room. We look forward to your smiles, Dan. I want to welcome you in here. He's literally the lead recruiting analyst. Now he's from the Final Whistle, one of our other shows from the Bama Standard Network, but he's also the lead recruiting analyst for this show. And so any questions that you have, like I said, we're going to add the Q&As toward the end. So if you have questions regarding specific recruits, drop them in the live chat. It's been announced that our 2025 wide receiver, Caleb Cunningham, he's going to be in Tuscaloosa this weekend. So if you have questions about him, I'm sure Dan can answer them. So like I said, my name is Sishi, and we're happy to have you all here tonight. We want to kick things off with this upcoming weekend, our game against South Florida. So the one question that we have is, let me just make sure that I'm not echoing too much. The one question that we have, I think I'm echoing a lot. Let me see. Let me turn my mic down. The question is, do we feel like Alabama can beat USF? And I'm going to kick it off. I want your answer first, man, before I give mine, and then I'm going to let you know what I think.
Can, no, will, no, hell no. And that's not being a homer, but it's not Alabama's team from last year. They'll be facing a Bama team that'll be featuring 3 players that they didn't see much of last year. Last year, Jalen Milroe did not play in this game. Last year, Tyler Booker did not play in this game. Last year, Jaden Roberts wasn't the starter yet. So they'll be getting a totally different Alabama offense. So, they'll come in confident, but hey, we got them in Tuscaloosa. We're going to come in. I expect us to come in with a chip on our shoulder. And I expect to be maybe even possibly a more competitive game than Western Kentucky, but no, I don't see them coming within 4 scores of Alabama.
Yeah. And that's what I was thinking too. I still feel like am I echoing a lot? Or maybe you need to mute then because I'm still echoing.
Okay.
I don't want to feel like I'm talking to myself. Okay, good. Okay, I'm good now. All right. So my thing was, of course, that was the game that we played after we lost to Texas last year. And so, of course, there were some quarterback changes that we made. Everybody was whining and crying about Jalen Milroe. So, they started Ty Simpson. I believe Dylan Lonergan got in as well. But, it's just the changes that were made, they were made, I think, to satisfy those, so-called fans who were whining and complaining so much. But just to remind the viewers, we beat USF 17-3 last year. Like, it wasn't a huge, and I believe there was like a weather delay. It was just a lot that was going on. And just as a reminder, they had 80 plus passing yards, 200 rushing yards. It wasn't a whole lot on the ground per se. But one thing that we do know is South Florida's quarterback, Byrum, he likes to run that ball. And so we're gonna cover him in a couple minutes. But I wanted to remind the viewers of basically the trash talking that's been going on, and even their head coach Alex Golesh, he had some stuff to say not long ago where he was basically kind of being a little passive aggressive, talking about, it's not them playing us, it's Alabama playing them. Like, okay, well, y'all, he's like, Alabama got to bring their A game. Like, we gonna bring anything less, but I think it's just, that rat poison. It's just that misplaced confidence. They know that the Alabama that they got last year, that would have been their opportunity to beat us, and so the Alabama that they're going to get this year, like you said, Dan, certain players who we know will play this weekend, they didn't play last year. So what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on just some of the things that, their head coach said? And if I remember correctly, he has ties with Tennessee, University of Tennessee, if I remember correctly. So what are your thoughts on what he had to say?
Yeah, that's what happens when you have affiliation with Tennessee. You tend in the high altitude, you tend to lose oxygen to the brain. And so stuff tends to come out your mouth. But if you're a player for South Fort Lauderdale, you love it and you hate it. You know what I'm saying? You love the confidence from your coach. But I don't even think it's confidence. I'm gonna just say, it's straight foolishness. To say it. If you're gonna come in and do it, come in and do it. But you don't want to rattle the cage before you get in there with the line. And I think that's exactly what he did. So, this is a different Alabama team. It's still the standard, but ain't no telling how this coach will respond. Coach Saban just tell them go out there without talking and just play your game. But I don't know. You don't know what you'll get now. So. Hey, if they can come in and get it to within 28 points, they get my respect.
Yeah. We're going to do our score predictions shortly, maybe later on in the show, because I have an idea, at least what I believe the final score would be, but it sounds like you may be thinking in that same line, but we'll get to that later. So, no, I agree with what you had to say. It's like, for one, why are you talking before the game even starts? Like, surely you didn't think that little raggedy game last year was the Alabama that Alabama is known to be. So we're going to have to shut his mouth and everybody else that have something to say. Now, I want to kind of just, y'all know that here on the Crimson Dynasty, we like to dive deep into the opponent. I feel like you can't properly strategize on how to win if you don't understand, who you're playing, etc. So, of course, we're playing South Florida. South Florida, they just played Bethune-Cookman, and they beat them 48-3. Now, they had, I believe, about 170 yards in the air, over 200 yards rushing. So, those are, especially the rushing, those are some good numbers. But one thing that I feel like we really need to keep in mind is just how well, the quarterback, he can run. I think he had like the second highest leading rushing yards in that game against Bethune-Cookman this past weekend. So that's big, and so that's going to bring up a certain point towards the end when we start to talk about, who we think the key players or the players of the game will be on both sides of the ball. Now, as I'm talking about Byrum, Dan, I want to get your take. What are your thoughts on Byrum? What have you seen from him? And then are there any other players that you're kind of keeping your eyes on USF?
Yeah, definitely. Byrum Brown, it's not often at all that Alabama faces a 3,000-yard passer that rushed for the 700 yards. You probably count it on one hand. He didn't have quite the game you expected last year against us, as far as passing the ball. But, he was able to move the ball on the ground. He's tricky. We were unable to get him on the grass for long, allowing him to extend drives. but I expect us to have much better success against him this year. You know, we're going to make him beat us throwing the ball, I believe. You know, so you know, which he couldn't do last year, but you know, awesome, tremendous player. You know, he's a tremendous athlete. He's somebody you're gonna have to keep an eye on. You're gonna try to keep him within the pocket. You know, you don't want him getting outside on the edges. You know, extending plays. You know, but when you get to him, get him down, get him on the ground, and you know, the other one is wide receiver. I don't want to butcher his name, Abdur-Rahmaan Yaseen. I've been practicing that all morning.
I just call him Abdur-Yaseen.
Yes, he's a Purdue transfer. I think he had roughly 400 yards receiving with Purdue last year. You know, transferring in. So I think he's their top receiver. You know, so those are two we're gonna look out for. You know, but I think they're gonna try to use a little eye candy, misdirection, things like that. So we got to stay disciplined. You know. Which I expect, you know, with us playing more zone this year, you know, we won't get guys caught up in the watch as much, you know, and I expect more turnovers this year, you know. So, without, you know, giving my prediction.
No, not yet. We got to give the audience something to wait for.
I'm ready to get to it.
I know, but is that all you have for Abdur and Byrum?
Yes.
So when you were talking about Byrum, it reminded me, you said something that I believe the viewers really need to remember, is that you said that the 3,000 passing yards that he had, and I think 800 rushing last year, only Byrum and Jayden Daniels, they were the only two players to reach that, the 3,000 passing, the 800. And I didn't realize that it was just those two. You know, I was like, wait, what? And so, but apparently, based on their reports, that's all it is. Now, it's also important to note that he's already been named on a few watch lists, the 2024, the Maxwell Award, the Walter Camp Award, the Davey O'Brien, the Manning Award. Like, it's so many different ones, but I just feel like this is an opportunity for Alabama to just be like, first of all, sir, you are not about to roll up in Tuscaloosa with your raggedy uniform on, thinking that you're about to do something like those little dusty yards that y'all had last year. You're not doing that in Tuscaloosa, sir. Keep that down there in Florida. Do whatever y'all do down there with them alligators, because you ain't bringing that up here. Like, absolutely not. We ain't having that.
Incoming rent.
I know. Like, don't bring that up here. You know, we ain't doing none of that. I know he liked to run, but we need to make sure we go ahead and cut that short. You know, and I like that you mentioned Abdur, because he has some good numbers as well. Like you said, he was at Purdue for a while. I believe, this is his first year at South Florida. So it's going to be interesting, but I do believe that he's going to be one of their starting receivers. So that's another name, you know, and I'm glad that you mentioned him. But then as I was just kind of thinking about, you know, some of the guys who did well last year, some of the ones who weren't there last year but performed well this past weekend against Bethune-Cookman. So you have running back Naquan Wright. At first I was like, Naquan, what? But he's a senior. So last year was his first year at South Florida. He had transferred from Florida, the Florida Gators. He had about 800 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns. And so in their game this past weekend against Bethune-Cookman, he had like 7 carries, 1 rushing touchdown, 10 receiving yards. And even in our game against them last season, he had 15 carries and almost a 20-yard run. So we should expect to see him. I think when it comes to the run game, of course, Byrum most likely, he's going to be high in those numbers, but I think Naquan is going to be another guy. But then there was one other one, the guy by the name of Kelley Joiner. He's also a senior, but he's been with South Florida since 2019, so he's almost a super senior. But he had about 80 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns in their game this past weekend against Bethune-Cookman. And in our game last year, he didn't play much, but I believe because he's getting more reps and all of that and showing more production this season, we should expect to see him out there too. It seems like they like to kind of rely on their rushing game. Even when you kind of compare their stats last year, you know, they tend to rely heavily on that. And I don't know if it's necessarily just because Byrum is so good at it or if it's just, you know, what they prefer, but we have to keep that in mind. Another guy that I was looking at too, he's actually one of the linebackers, Jhalyn Shuler, and he's a senior. He's from the state of South Carolina. He had a total of 97 tackles last year. Like, that's crazy. And he started in all of their games. And based on what South Florida reports, he had like 11 tackles against us last year. I'm not sure if it was really that high, but that's what South Florida is saying. And he was named all AAC fourth team. So that's another guy that we need to, keep our eyes on. I think that because he is so experienced, he's going to be one of those main guys that I think we're going to have to strategize against. They have a safety, D'Marco Augustin. This is his first year at South Florida. He was at Youngstown State over the last 2 years, the 2 years prior. And he had a couple tackles a few days ago against their game against Bethune-Cookman that they pretty much blew them out. And he had about 70 tackles during his time at Youngstown State. He was named the athletics honor roll in the spring of 2024. So he's another guy. I think when you think about South Florida's DBs, their secondary, he's probably going to be one of those guys that they have back there. Like I said, this is his first year at South Florida, but he did perform, pretty well at Youngstown State. So be expecting to see him. I know that you already talked about Byrum Brown. That goes without saying, he's definitely at the top of my list of guys, not even just from a QB perspective, but also as far as running backs. But even when we talk about that QB position, they have a backup quarterback, Bryce Archie, and he's from the state of Georgia. So last year was his first year at South Florida. He played his first year of football at Coastal Carolina, and then he played this past weekend against Bethune-Cookman, and he had 1 touchdown. So I think that if we think that, you look at their head coach, Alex Golesh, and, coming from Tennessee, kind of like that creativity factor, if it's there at all, I could see them coming up with some plays where they have Byrum and Bryce. So, just kind of throwing some little tricks. Because when you're playing against a team like Alabama, you can't come in here with no little basic nothing. Like you got to get as strategic as you can get, because that's it. That's all. Like, you're not walking up in our house thinking you're doing something. But another wide receiver, I know that you mentioned Abdur-Rahmaan Yaseen, but there was another one, Sean Atkins. That's another guy. I think we'll see him out there for sure. There's a defensive lineman, Rico Watson III. This is his second year at South Florida. He was previously at Robert Morris, and then a linebacker by the name of Mac Harris. So those are some guys, y'all. If you want to look up their numbers, look up certain things that they've accomplished so far. Take a look at that. I think they're going to be out there. Dan, any names that I didn't mention or that?
Well, that's pretty much it. But like I say, they'll be facing a different Bama team, But they have quite a few. But Byrum Brown by far is the top NFL prospect. He's a quite athlete. I don't want to undersell it. I think it was raining last year a little bit during that game, if I can remember. So we didn't get to see his full potential. But I expect a much better game from all seriousness, because he's that type of player. Will he be able to get the ball to his playmakers on the edges? We will see. But Byrum Brown is a name I'm telling Alabama fans to watch out for.
Yep. And that's a good point. You said it was raining a little bit last year. I think it was raining a lot bit because they ended up having to delay the game or something, right?
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's a good point. So we didn't even get to see. We saw it a little bit when we played them, but we didn't really get to see it. So that's another thing is that that's gonna. And that kind of segues into our next topic when we talk about from Alabama, who do we believe will really show up and really show out in this game? Like, we had quite a few of them on both sides of the ball this past weekend against Western Kentucky. But from your perspective, who do you see from our offense and defense showing up this weekend, staking their claim if they haven't already? Who do you got?
How many can I name?
Man, look, you can name. Look, if you want to name the entire defense, I'm cool with that. I mean,
I'm gonna start with offense. It's gonna start with our guy Jalen Milroe. I expect him to have a huge game Saturday. Another name to look out for is Kendrick Law. We're gonna try to establish Jeremy Bernard. That's another one. Ryan Williams is gonna be Ryan Williams. I see big plays from Ryan Williams. And I'm gonna give you one more. And I'm going to toss it up between one of the two running backs. Cool. I'm going to go Jam Miller.
Jam Miller.
On the defensive side of the ball. I'm thinking this with the type of player that Byrum Brown is, I expect another huge game from Jihad Campbell. So I'm thinking he's going to put his name at the top of the bucket list after a game like this. So That's just, I'm just named that one on defense.
Okay. I got you. Okay, so offense, I agree. I was also thinking Jalen Milroe. It's just one of the reasons being because he didn't play in the game last year. You know what I mean? So that in itself is, it's going to be enough to see not even just how he performs against them, but also coming off of such a huge win that we just had, and people, they still have something to say, even Alabama fans like, oh, well, we just played Western Kentucky. Sorry, like a win is a win. We blew them out. But if you want to see more Milroe, tune in this weekend. So it's going to be huge for Milroe. As far as receivers, I actually have Kobe Prentice. I think that this is going to be a big game for him. I think with the way that Ryan Williams showed out this past weekend, they're going to try to lock him up this weekend. And I really see that happening. We know that he doesn't have a ceiling, but there are some veterans like Kobe Prentice and like you said, Kendrick Law, who those are going to be the it factors. They're going to be the ones who are going to make some huge plays. And I believe that with the type of defense that South Florida has, you don't hear much about their secondary. It was only just that one that caught my attention, to be honest, not trying to take anything away from them, but I don't necessarily see them being able to stop our receivers. I mean, I can see a few of our receivers out there at the same time, and Jalen being able to make a lot of plays in the air. So I can definitely see it. You said Kendrick Law, I'm going with Kobe Prentice. As far as the run game, like you said, Jam Miller, I could see that. I wouldn't be surprised. I know we're going to see Justice as well. So whichever one, but I definitely see it being a big game for Jalen Milroe. He's going to get some good numbers. But as far as the defense, because of the type of player that Byrum is, I feel like that's the type of player where your defensive line, like they have to be top notch, especially coming off the edge. So I was thinking guys like Quandarius Robinson, if Keanu gets in the game, Quay Russaw, like it has to be somebody who can be fast off the edge and who can, we don't have no time to be playing around with him. He ain't gonna be running those circles around us like he did Bethune-Cookman. This is not Bethune-Cookman, it ain't gonna be raining. Like it ain't no excuses. We gotta lock him down because he ain't going nowhere. We need to force him to throw the ball. Yes. He doesn't like to throw the ball that much. We need to force him to throw the ball. And with the type of defense that we have, and the type of like that zone defense that we've been doing, at least the way that we did, last weekend. I think that, as far as their receivers, they have a couple that are good, like the ones that we named, but not a whole lot. It's not a whole lot that are huge playmakers. These guys are still either fairly new at South Florida, or they just don't really have huge stats for the most part. So I can just see them really relying on their run game. Our defensive line, they're going to have to shut it down quickly. So that's our take. Y'all go ahead. And we mentioned at the beginning of the show that we added a new segment towards the end where we're taking questions. So it's going to be like a short Q&A session. So go ahead and drop your questions in the chat, and then we'll get to them towards the end. But we're only going to take a few, so go ahead and drop them in there. Now, before we move on, because that was some good information. I hope y'all feel, excited going into the game, because, y'all come here to the Crimson Dynasty, you're going to learn about the opponent. Like you got to prepare for the ops if you plan on beating them. So, but I definitely wanted to, as we talk about Alabama and just playmakers for Alabama, we talked about Ryan Williams, another guy who was named, I believe, SEC Defensive Player of the Week, Keon Saab. I believe that's the award that he got for the week. If not, that's what I would give him. But we want to talk about Keon Saab because the way that he showed up, the question has been, and that's been this week, was he that missing piece that we needed? So just to give everyone kind of an overview of Keon, which, I mean, it's not really like we have to, but of course he's the transfer from Michigan. He actually went to IMG Academy, which is, a really good school. And this is his second year playing college football. He played at Michigan last year. When he was at Michigan, he had almost 30 total tackles, which includes like their post games and all that good stuff and the so-called national championship. And then he had 2 interceptions, and the 2, I believe he had, let me see, what does it say? 2 interceptions in one of those. Yeah. And then he ended up running about 60 yards off of those 2 interceptions total, which is huge, but it's even better what he did this past weekend, because he had almost 90 total yards off of the interceptions that he got this past weekend against Western Kentucky. So that's huge. And he, like everyone wants to question if he's the it factor, or at least the X factor on the defense in terms of the DBs. I would say yes, but what are your thoughts on that, Dan?
Definitely, because this 4-2-5 defense, it is a safety friendly defense. So your safety is going to be able to make plays. So I think actually, in all honesty, was a better fit in this system than Caleb Down was. Caleb Down has a higher ceiling right now as a player, but for our system, I think Keon Saab is a better player for our system. So he helped alleviate us losing Caleb Downs, because we were expecting a big season year 2 out of Downs, but he hit the portal. But Keon Saab comes in and he's playing at a very high level right now. But it's just one game, so let's pump the brakes. But he's definitely a game changer, especially when he gets the ball in the hand. He immediately flips field position. Anytime you generate a turnover, return it, get return yards off a turnover, you help with field position. And he helped us tremendously with that this past week. So I expect pretty much the same this week from him. But I think eventually teams will start, moving away from him, so he'll shrink this one half of the field. So that's the type of player you want in this type of system.
I like that you said. I mean, they can run from all they want. They can run, but they can't hide, because we're gonna still lock them up. So you can ain't too many places you can go on that field from Alabama. But I like what you said in regard to Caleb Downs, because a lot of people, really felt some type of way about him leaving, and may still do, and kind of felt like we took a huge hit. But with Keon Sabb, that's an awesome replacement. A lot of people felt some type of way about Isaiah Bond and, Malik Benson and different guys, Nye Black leaving. But I mean, when you think about just the divine replacements that we got, I mean, you can't ask for anything better. So I definitely think that we're in a great position. Now, before we move forward, I definitely want to shout out our other sponsor, WhitwillSports.com. So we always promote the title towel. We always tell you that your game day is not the same without the title towel. So be sure to hit them up, visit their website, WhitwillSports.com, and use Standard for an exclusive discount specific to our show. So go ahead and hit them up. And then also check out our merchandise. We have a Crimson Dynasty merchandise store. The link is in the chat, posted by the Bama Standard Network. So it's our Etsy store. We have some really nice shirts. Like I said, they're limited editions, so there's a good chance that very soon, maybe in the next week or two, you'll see some of them, change out for something different. So if y'all have any shirt ideas, anything like trendy or whatever that y'all want to see, drop it in the chat. But also, I know I mentioned that my birthday is this weekend. I love birthdays, so I have to mention it. I'm excited. My birthday is actually Sunday, the day after the game, but it's a huge weekend because the field is going to be named Saban Field. So it's a huge weekend and a good weekend to honor Coach Saban and everything that he's done, at Alabama and in the city of Tuscaloosa as well. So without further ado, I know that we said a lot. We kind of gave some predictions, but I think we should kind of deep dive a little bit more when it comes to Jalen Milroe. And go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you joined a little late. I know I don't really have to tell y'all that, but, if you haven't already, because, we have those haters from other schools. We had a lot of Florida State fans coming up in our chat running their mouths, but, they're crickets now. I mean, what? First of all, they almost lost to Boston College last year. Need we remind them? So when they played this year, I'm like, they Ward, they did so good. I'm so proud of Boston College. I'm just so proud of them. Anywho, so let's touch on Jalen Milroe. We talk about the fact that he didn't play in the game last year, right? And, people may be wondering, okay, well, how well will he do? Will we see, a dramatic improvement, et cetera? So I want to get your take. Jalen Milroe, he was 7-9. Really, he, had really good numbers in our game against Western Kentucky. And I'm curious from your perspective, you kind of talked about it a little earlier, but I want to, dig a little deeper and find out, how well do you think he's going to do? How many touchdowns do you see him having in the air versus on the ground himself versus, maybe some running backs getting touchdowns? What does that look like for you?
Okay, last year, I think, what game was it? Middle Tennessee State. Jalen Hurts set a record, right? 3 touchdowns and three passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. He was the first Bama player to do it. Well, that's exactly what he did, last week. So in that spirit, I expect him, I expect 3 passing, 2 rushing again. So I'm gonna stay within the, 5 touchdown total, 3 passing, 2 rushing. So yeah, so he's going to continue his Bama record. So I think this will be his 3rd game doing if he was to do so. But that's a tremendous feat. Considering it's at the University of Alabama, and no one done it.
Considering. Exactly. No, I like what you said. I was actually thinking similar. So I was thinking I had to actually take a note of it. So I have 4 touchdowns in the air for Jhalyn, 1 on the ground by him, and then 2 from running back. So maybe, I know you mentioned maybe Jam and Justice. And if by chance not both of them, we may see Richard Young sneak one in. So I have 4 in the air, 1 by Jalen Milroe, and then 2 by some running backs. So yeah, I have a total of 7. I'm gonna stand by that. So that's my take on it. To be honest, I could see us literally having some crazy numbers. Like, we should be able to be creative in the air because, like I said, their DBs, that secondary, it's not. Like, I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but just seeing what I've seen, I haven't seen anything that really makes me say, you know what, we ain't gonna be able to make a lot of plays in the air. I believe that we can. So I see Jalen Milroe having a huge game. I'm standing on that. So it sounds like we're both on the same page when it comes to that. Now, here is the new segment that we mentioned, the Q&A. So Justin, I don't know if you have any questions yet from anyone in the chat. If they haven't asked anything, that's fine, but shout out to Monica. Hey, Monica. Who do you think is the dark horse on the team? Dan, I'll toss it to you. Who do you think?
Okay, that's a good question. Dark horse. We're gonna look at it like this. Dark horse. I guess he's considered a player no one's talking about yet, and that's a very good question. And I think that's a good segue into our next question that we're gonna get. And I'm thinking that player is going to be Keon Kelley. He is the legend of Keon Kelley. So who do we think is the dark horse? I would say Keon Kelley. We're waiting. He had to change position, change his body type. So he's learning, but he got guys ahead of him. He got dudes ahead of him. It's not just he's struggling to get on the field or anything. He's learning the position. And he has dudes ahead of him, and he's a dude himself. So I would say, Keon Kelley. We're going to see how he progresses throughout the year at the bandit position. But LT Overton, how you going to take him off the field?
Yeah.
So you got Jamarian Latham. You got dudes on the field. You got Jordan Renard. So I would say the dark horse on the team that nobody's talking about, that they'll probably be talking about toward the end of the year, is going to be Keon Kelley.
Interesting. I like that one. It's so interesting, though, Dan, because people were talking about him before the season started. We kept hearing his name. And then, of course, did he even get in the game this past weekend?
Yes, I think he played a few snaps. I think he did.
Okay.
Played, 4 or 5 snaps, I think. So
Okay. So we'll probably see him out there more. I would say mine, I would say it's actually on the offense. I'm going to say Danny Lewis Jr. And I say him because he's one of our tight ends, one of the younger ones, because, CJ Dupree, Robbie Oots, all of them, they're a little older. But I feel like Danny Lewis Jr., he was highly touted out of high school, and we haven't been able to see him. I don't believe that we've been able to see what he can really do. And I feel like the part of that is because, like last year, for example, we didn't have the right offensive system, to really do what you need to do with tight ends. Like, think about the years that we won the national championship games. We always had that solid tight end that we could rely on, and especially in those bigger games. And it just seems like we either haven't known what to do with them, or we just look silly out there. Not due to the players, it just was a lot of poor coaching. But I feel like Danny Lewis Jr., he's going to be that guy, because I did see him out there against Western Kentucky. I saw him doing more blocking than anything, but I would like to see him, because he has that build, like he has the size. You know what I'm saying? Like he has the
size of a good inline tight end. That's something, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm looking at the Western, and I'm like, I know I'm not tripping. Like, why? This guy, he could be running people over, like literally dragging them with him. So I think it's just a matter of time before we see him literally go off. But that was a great question, Monica. I like that one. Any other ones? Don Parker, shout out to Don Parker. Despite the 63-0 score, Bama didn't play to the standard. I know you said that in our post-game show. Championship teams do the little things at an exceptionally high level. True. My question, will there be improvement in the basics this week? I'll take that one first, and I'll let you think on that, Dan, because I know I keep tossing off to you first. Dan or Don, we got to shout you out because you always show love. And I know a lot of people kind of got a little annoyed with you in the post game, but I feel where you're coming from when it comes to the standard. And a lot of times because of the standard, there's a level of expectation, there every single game, regardless of who we play. When we talk about the basics, to me, and you didn't really clarify what you meant by that, but I'm going to say that I feel like the basics are, having discipline, which to me goes to some of the low snaps that we saw, all those penalties that we saw. We had so many in the first half. And I'm just like, we shouldn't be having the same issues that we saw last year, especially considering some of the information that we heard before the season started this season that, it seemed like we were more disciplined. It seemed like, we were doing better on the snaps. So I feel like as far as the basics, having more discipline, being able to, and now I will say with Jhalyn, the checkdowns that he's doing, I can see that. I feel like his football IQ has gotten a lot better, but I think a lot of it too is because of confidence. So I think in terms of, I'm just reading a comment. I think in terms of Justin mentioned, a lot of it came due to heavy rotation of young players. True. Plus, when Proctor went out, it caused offensive line to be in disarray. True. When they settled in, the issues went away. Those are two really good points because, like you said, Caden Proctor not being able to play, basically right before the game started, that kind of caused them, kind of not necessarily mess things up, but it definitely threw a wrench in there. And then, like you said, mentioning, all the rotations of the young players. So we should see some of that cleaned up, I would say, especially by the time we play Georgia. Right now, it seems like it's a matter of getting those younger guys and the new guys some more reps. But Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, and Don, let me tell you, man, that is a good question because there is a word we use at Bama, and that's a standard. So we always want to look to improve, and I appreciate you understanding that. A lot of Bama fans don't understand there is a standard, and I understand what you're saying. We didn't play a squeaky clean game against an inferior opponent, and but it's a lot of variables in that. So you got a new coach, new scheme. You're playing a lot of young guys. We played, I think, 17 true freshmen. But, a lot of the mental mistakes wasn't from the true freshmen, So, some things you want to clean up. So you want to have coachable or teachable moments, So the coaches like those teachable moments. And it's good to have teachable moments when the score is 63-0. You don't want to have a lot of, we could have been on the other side of that 63-0. You wouldn't know where to start as far as teachable moments. But yes, we would definitely. I expect that to see improvement. And we got caught with a couple of legal substitutions trying to run guys in and off the field. So we got caught one time. We even running a guy off the field and he was the 11th man. So things like that. We got to be fast. We got to get in. They went fast and caught us sleeping. So teams got to do that, so we got to make sure we're prepared, so get a better job of understanding that. But I definitely expect us to see improvement.
Yeah, no question. Shout out to Moon Rocca. What players hold the key to neutralizing the threat of South Florida's talented quarterback? Man, I named mine. I said, I feel like the defensive line is on the line. The defensive line, and we need them guys that's the quickest ones off the edge. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Keanu Coot. I don't care if it's Quay Russaw. I don't care if it's Quandarius Robinson. They need to be flying off of that line. Like they need to be getting to him because I feel like, if you can stop Byrum, you can stop their offense. That's it. Mm-hmm. But what are your thoughts, Dan?
Yeah, I think, to answer your question, what's up, Moon? To answer your question, I think it's going to be, 4 and, definitely Q Rob and Jihad Campbell. So we're saying Quay Russaw, Q Rob, and Jihad Campbell. Mm-hmm. Jihad Campbell is going to get a lot of action. I expect him, this is going to be his type of game, with you got a mobile quarterback. But the thing I want to see from Q Rob this game, you don't want to get caught going too far upfield because he's going to take off. With an athletic quarterback like this, you don't want to get caught going too far upfield, So you want to kind of squeeze them. You want to kind of squeeze them, collapse them into the pocket. You want to kind of press them into the pocket, making them step up until our big guy, let our big guy clean them up. But yeah, you don't want to create a mess by getting caught too far upfield against a guy like that.
Like that. That's good. That's good. Any other questions that we had? Shout out to Tough as Nails. Do you think there is a heavy jumbo package with Robbie Ouzts? I took the last two. I'm gonna let you take this one first, Dan.
Okay, well, yeah, it is, but I'm the type, I like that old Bama, the elephant package. You know what I'm saying? I want to see Big Tim Keenan out as a lead blocker. Big Jaheim Otis. That's the type of jumbo package I want to see. I want to see that elephant, the real elephant package. So of course Robbie Ouzts is gonna, and that guy's huge, man. I was looking at the video of Justice Haynes' run, and wow, man, Robbie Ouzts was the first one to meet him in the end zone. Hell, he was like twice his size. I like, golly, man, I didn't realize Robbie Ouzts was that big of a human being. He definitely put on some size. He's a formidable, player for us. But I was surprised. Robbie Ouzts is a monster, man. But I definitely think we got definitely a jumbo package. But yeah, he's a part of it.
Yeah, I agree. I would stay with Robbie Ouzts. Because, see, I kept talking last year about that double type formation. For me, what I see as far as the package is just running that. We saw it in the Western Kentucky game, maybe once or twice. But I think that's when you have tight ends their size. I mentioned Danny Lewis Jr. I mentioned, the CJ Duprees of the world, Robbie Ouzts. I don't know if we still have Kitzelman. Is Kitzelman still on the?
No, I think he transferred out. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And then we should be getting. Do we already have Jay Lindsey? The freshman?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Yeah. I definitely could see that. I'm curious to see what we do. I mean, we have all the weapons. To me, you couldn't really ask for anyone else at this point. Let's see, but really later, there's a lot of players that Nick Sheridan has in his bag. Yeah, I mean, it all comes because we have everyone that we need, I believe. And it really just comes down to the coaches. Like, the question is, can they perform at this point? Because we've seen what the Bill O'Briens and the Tommy Rees and the little Pete Goldens do. Now, Kevin still, he did a good job, but ultimately, I think it's going to come down to the coaches and how they're able to utilize these players. If we can look at Danny Lewis Jr. and see what we see, they should be able to see it too. And Robbie Ouzts, I don't want to just see Robbie Ouzts out there just blocking. I mean, he's good at that, but I think he's also one of the key players, depending on the type of defense that we're playing. He's one of those guys that can get some extra points on the board. Like you said, he's fast, fast and big. So he's going to be one of those key players that we need to go to as well. But thank you, everyone, for those who dropped some comments. We're gonna have to wrap it up because we'll sit here all night talking about you because y'all have some really good questions, but hopefully you can engage with each other in the chat with your questions. Like I said, go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe. Now, before we end, because we still have a couple more things to mention, but I wanted to get into score predictions. We kind of talked about it a little earlier, but I have, so I'll give mine first, and then I want to know what yours are, Dan. So I'm seeing like a 49-7. I have a 49-7. What I'm seeing is that, like I mentioned, I could see maybe 4 in the air by Jalen Milroe. I could see him making one with his legs, and then a couple by some running backs. So I could see us, getting the score up there to maybe 49-ish, and possibly a little more, depending on how fast we start. But then I feel like we can lock them down to 7 because really the key to their offense is Byrum. So if they can stop him and consistently stop him throughout the game, that is it, so that's mine. 49-7. Players of the game, I mentioned earlier, Jalen Milroe and Kobe Prentice on offense. And then as far as defense, I would say Quandarius Robinson, Quay Russaw, someone that's fast off the edge. So that's mine. But what are yours then? Okay,
my score prediction:
Bama
52, South Florida 7.
Okay.
I don't expect us to shut out 2 opponents 2 consecutive weeks, which would be good.
Yeah.
But my players of the game: Jalen Milroe on offense, Jahad Campbell on defense.
Okay. I like that. Yeah, Jahai had a really good game this past weekend. I mean, it just like they all came to play. And my thing is like, that's how you should be every single game. Like, what else you out there for?
Right.
You know, we should be 1-0 every single weekend. Like that's just is what it is. Now, I do want to quickly mention that the Bama Standard will be at the Bryant Museum this weekend, this Friday night at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll be live there. And I also wanted to mention that we have a guest. There's a guest who's going to be there, actor and film producer John D. Hickman. He's going to be there. A lot of y'all might already know him, but he's, like I said, he's an actor. He's a film producer. He's from Alabama, and he's a huge Alabama fan. He's also one of the boosters. And he's starred in some big films with guys like Bruce Willis, Chris Hemsworth, Tyrese, a few others. So we did get word that he's going to be there at the museum. So, you know, if you're out there, be sure to, you know, come by and show some love. Reggie Ragland is going to be there as well. So yeah, show some love if y'all are out there. Dan is going to be out there. I'm still confirming if I'm going to be out there just yet. Like I said, it's my birthday weekend. I have some stuff that I need to confirm, all this good stuff, but I'm really hoping and praying that I can make it out there because I definitely want to be able to cheer on our guys because we're going to win the Natty. You know, it just is what it is. But also, really quickly, Dan, anything else that you want to mention in terms of the game this weekend? Like I said, it's been a lot of trash talking, not as bad as we see from some of, you know, our SEC rivals, but, you know, it seemed like South Florida is under the impression that they're going to come in Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. I mean, to me, that's absurd. But any last thought that you have regarding the game?
No, they don't really believe that, but just fools will say it. You know what I'm saying? A fool will say something that he doesn't believe. You know, and this guy know he doesn't believe that. You know what I'm saying? But no, it's gonna be like I said. It's gonna be a what you call it, mollywop? That's your term?
Mollywop.
They're gonna get mollywop. I expect them to get mollywop. But yeah, the Bryant Museum. Hey, people in the chat, y'all hit me up, man. I'm gonna be looking for a friend there. You know, I need somebody to hang out with, get loose. I don't get to do it much. You know, this will be my first time back.
You say you're trying to get loose, man?
I'm trying to get loose. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to shake something. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to.
Don't be out there shaking too much before you end up on somebody's YouTube channel. Making you some money.
But hit me up, y'all. Hit me up. I'm excited. I'm looking for it. It'll be my first time back in T-Town in a minute, you know. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, we will have Teague's Take tonight, 8:15 Central Standard Time, 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. They have some really good content, so be sure to check them out. Like I mentioned, the Bama Standard will be live this Friday night, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time at the Bryant Museum. We'll have actor and film producer John D. Hickman there. Reggie Ragland will be there as well, maybe some other faces there. And then we also have Sunday Nights Talking Bama with JB and Josh Tucker at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time this Sunday night. So be sure to check them out as well. Go ahead and hit that like button if you haven't already. We like to ask y'all to do that early on just so that, you know, it's already in there, building up that algorithm. We know some of y'all Auburn fans that's in there. Y'all, look, Dan, before we even went live, I looked at the live chat and lo and behold, guess who I saw? Literally the first one.
Our number one fan, Chris Williams.
I mean, I'm like, dude, like you're a so-called Auburn fan and you're here before the show even starts.
Gotta love him.
Do you have your bag of popcorn, sir? Like, I mean, do we need to call Orville and get some type of sponsorship with them? Because, like, you got your popcorn and your butter ready and your little Coca-Cola. Like, okay. I mean, we got Florida State in here tonight because I kind of want to troll them.
I think they're high. They still got their head stuck in the sand.
Hey, Linda said she'll check it with you. Hey, okay. Yeah, no, shout out to Dan. Shout out to Petty. I see you in there as well. GT18, Jason Pounders. Jason, you talking about he gonna be there. Don't come to Tuscaloosa with your dust. Huh?
He'll be high.
Like, yeah, he will be high. You know, they like that. That's all they can do. Let's just see if it's I didn't see any Florida State fans in there. And shout out to LSU as well. Got whooped by USC. Look, USC, their quarterback, Miller Moss.
He looked
Keep
impressive.
playing like he played in that second half. He's gonna be. His name might be in that Heisman conversation. Yeah. I like what I saw with him.
You know, both teams played well. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna take anything away from each team, but you know, second half LSU, I thought they had Kiffin calling plays.
I know.
Running the ball, man.
That's crazy. Yeah. Just the type of the penalties that they were. I'm like, man, y'all. Come on now, y'all supposed
after the touchdown, the little gun. That's just, you know, that was that was the most undisciplined I ever seen a Brian Kelley team, you know.
Just ridiculous, ghetto. Really quickly, shout out to Alan Mitchell. Love your channel, sister. Look, we got love for y'all too. We love the supporters. Y'all here every single week. And even for the haters, you know, we still got love for y'all because, you know, here you go. Chris Williams. I'm a really big fan of Dan. I want an autograph and a picture. All right,
Okay.
Cool, like, he got you.
I got you, Chris.
Hey, you knew he was a fan though, right? I mean,
we knew it. We knew it.
Yeah, I mean, you ain't telling us something that we don't know. Let's see, because I don't see Florida State in the chat. I don't see Ohio State running their mouth with that slow start that they had against Akron. But now Akron, their quarterback, Bullock, he was good. They should have had him playing the entire game. The second string.
Yeah.
Y'all, them haters quiet. Y'all better keep quiet. We tried to tell y'all.
Them Gators.
Huh?
Them Florida Gators, yeah. Shout out to them.
Man, I wonder if Cormani McClain, I wonder if he's second guessing his decision.
It's just a complete total mess, you know. I don't know.
I don't know. I kind of was hoping that we would get him, you know, but it is what it is. Thank you everyone for the birthday wishes as well. It's in a few days, so I'm hoping that us getting a big fat W this weekend. It'll segue into a couple weeks when we get that W against Georgia as well with that slow start that they had against Clemson. So, you know, we're gonna talk about that though. All right. Well, do you have any social media, Dan? Any other shows that you want to promote?
Yes, of course. You know, it's all starts on this channel here. This is the channel you want for all your Bama content. You know, Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, you got the final whistle. Wednesday nights, right here, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central, the Crimson Dynasty. You catch me on X at the final whistle Dan. You catch me on Instagram, Dan James the Fourth. Catch me on Facebook, Dan James the Fourth. You know, y'all make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe. I appreciate y'all. I enjoyed y'all tonight. I always love interacting with this chat in particular. This chat, I love it. I really do. It's better than message boards for me.
Yeah. I mean, because they know what they're talking about. Like they're not just in there just talking. You know, y'all know what y'all talking about. So we like that. And you can find me on Instagram. I mean, I know Dan just went through all his social media. He's just getting more and more active on social media. So watch out. You're gonna be getting sponsorships and partnerships and everything.
There you go.
You can find me on Instagram at beauty_of_intelligence. And yeah, we're excited. Alabama, we're winning that natty this year. I mean, it ain't no other way. We want to know every single weekend. Ain't no other way. We don't suit up just to, we just want to beat Oklahoma. No, that ain't our end goal. Our end goal is the natty. I mean, you don't come to Alabama just to beat a team. You go to Alabama to win a national championship.
That's it.
I mean, look, don't get me started.
Nothing less.
Don't get me started. Just look, because I'm ready. But no, we're gonna cut this short, so everybody get ready for the weekend. Go ahead and plan ahead. Monica said you mad because they actually played somebody. I mean, yeah, they are, and they got to play somebody in a couple weeks, i.e. Alabama. But thank you everyone for your support, and roll tide roll, hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you all back here next Wednesday. Roll tide.
I'll try to answer that question next week, Smoke Man.
Talk about the difference in Proctor and Pritchard, some evaluations. Yeah, that'll be a good one. Thank you, Jason, for the birthday wishes. Thank you all for the birthday wishes. I dropped my Cash App in there as well, just for anybody that want to put their money where the mouth is. And I'm dropping it again because don't play with me, because see, these haters like to be in there running their mouth, and they literally wait right until we finish the show to say something slick. But go ahead and put your money where your mouth is. So thank you all for the birthday wishes. The question from Smoke Man, Dan, let's keep that one in our back pocket, and we can.
Yes, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. And then we can talk about that on Friday. Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you everyone for supporting the network. And yeah, some of y'all we may see Friday, and have a great night. Do I have Zelle? I do not have Zelle. But what I will do, let me do something.
Kennedy.
Yeah. Drop that.
I was just joking, Kennedy.
Huh?
Kennedy said, "Oh Lord, Dan trying to get loose."
Yeah, he's trying to get loose. I don't have a Zelle though, but yeah. I got a Venmo if y'all want that. We still got 3 more minutes if y'all want the Venmo. Look.
I tell you what, just give me your account number and I'll see what I can do. I'm ready.
I'm not writing my account information down, sir. Let's see. No, we appreciate. So make sure now that we're doing the Q&A, make sure that you drop your questions in the chat every week, because I think that's something that maybe we should have already started then, but I'm glad that we're starting it at the beginning of the season, because we definitely want to make sure that, the audience feels heard, because we're not able to address every single thing, you know what I'm saying, every week. But the fact that when you drop your questions, it kind of lets us know, what to discuss. All right.
That'll be a good topic. Yeah, that'll be a good topic for a show.
Especially if Proctor, I don't know. I know they said that he may be week to week, but did they say for sure that he's playing this weekend?
He didn't say, I don't think, to my knowledge yet. So yeah, I think it'd be a game time decision at best.
Game time decision. Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for the support. Thank you for the birthday wishes. I love birthdays. I feel like it's your special day. And, sadly, it was a shooting in Georgia, and, just 2 coaches and 2 teenagers losing their life. I'm so tired of this stuff happening, but we're not about to get into that. But, I just think that's why some people don't care much for birthdays, but that's one of the reasons why I do, because there are a lot of people who didn't wake up, you know what I'm saying? Or they woke up and then they didn't make it back home. So I think that, we really have to appreciate every day, man, because these days getting dark, so, but keep God first, man, because stuff like that. Anyway, all right. Thanks for supporting the network. We really appreciate it. Be back on next Wednesday, same time, same place, and roll tide roll.
Roll Tide.